Starbucks in the known universe.
He has some specific rules about those Starbucks, though. He does not go to any that are, say, inside of Safeways, for example, in Canada. He does not consider those to be proper Starbucks locations. They
He
have
has
to
his
be,
standards.
yes.
Obviously a quirky fellow, very much beloved. And a fiendish player. This man plays so many games, it's not funny. He's been known to, like, he'll just get in his car, he'll miss work. I think he does piecemeal work, right? He does a lot of consulting work, and that's probably to feed his Scrabble addiction.
So David Aldar's got a blank on his rack very early, which is nice.
And who's going
An
first?
S and another blank. Oh, he's double blanked at the beginning, so he's definitely...
With an S.
And an S, yeah.
Which you think is a good thing, but it really isn't.
This is a perfect example of the question before asked about both blanks, whether it's good to have them at the same time. He definitely would prefer to not have both at the same time here, I would think.
Yeah, the best time to have somebody double blank and SU is early on in the game, so then you have lots of time to come back. So this is going to hurt, but it could be a lot worse. So he's got Divinest, at the very least, off the D. But what you want to do in this situation is you want to double, because you'll get more points through that O. You'll double the score, you'll double it again, and then you'll add 50 points. So I'll think on that for a second. He's got a lot of blanks, so it's not as easy, but he's going to have stuff through. He's going to have Venosity, for example, and Ventosis. Those are all going to be for 86 points. Through the D, he's got Duvetins, which is a fancy way of saying a duvet, with a Y, and Divinus, as I said before, and stuff like Unvested. But what you want to go for here is the double to get the most points. He can also choose to go above Detox and make a 5-letter overlap. In which case he's got words like Venites, Venites, making ed, n, it, tu, and x. And that's certainly a viable play. It's only 5 points less than double, and blocks up the board and doesn't allow for comeback plays as easily. So that actually might be a better play. Of course, Winter has absolutely nothing on his rack, so...
He doesn't even have an L to spell awful. That's how bad it is.
That's how bad it is, when you can't spell awful. Ventosis, yeah. Ventouse, somebody asked, Ventouse is also a very fine play. So when you have two blanks on your rack, it can be tough because the possibilities are endless. He's actually lucky to have that V, because it's going to, if he had an R there, for example, I mean, we could be here all day till he plays. There is a tournament in Minnesota every year, which is called the Red Eye. And it's called the Red Eye because you basically play all day. And yes, you do play in your pajamas by the end of the day. And I remember it was game maybe 18. I don't know how many games you do in a day, but it was like the last game of the day. It was really, really late. And I had this rack. I had S blank blank NRT. You know, like it was, if there weren't 400 bingos on that rack, there were none. And I just remember looking at that rack and breaking down in giggles, which was not nice for my opponent because like, okay, she's got 2 blanks and an S. But the reality was I had so many choices and I was so tired. And you have to be kidding me if you thought I could come up with something that was the correct play. So I just slapped down anything. I'm sure it was the wrong play, but never good to have both blanks in that kind of situation.
Both of us have varying amounts of experience in the field of psychology, and we do know about the issue of choice exhaustion. When there are too many choices, it's actually detrimental to your mental well-being. And short-term in Scrabble, that is certainly the case as well, when there are just simply too many choices to consider. So,
I think we're getting close to the lunch hour, because when you said that, the first thing I thought about was buffet in Vegas. Too many choices. You know that there's a whole... I might have to write a book one day about how to approach a buffet properly in Vegas, because there are rookie errors. The people who go for the bread and for the
Mm-hmm.
chowder don't do that. You go straight to the shrimp. You go straight to the lobster. You do not fill up with carbs.
Protein, absolutely. You get nutritional tips here as well on the air, not even just
You should
Scrabble
never go
insight.
for the bread anyhow, but especially in Vegas. All right. Well, as expected, we are he's gonna take his time. It's really, really frustrating when you have a rack like Winter does, with such a not much to do, not much to think about, and then you have to wait. But here we go. He's gonna play. It looks like Ventus,
Probably
Ventouse,
Ventouse, or whatever it is. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Ventouse, Ventaus. Let's see if it takes an S. It does.
We'll just quickly get an update for you here from the Joel Sherman-David Gibson game. Looks like there was an exchange of
There
some
was an
sort.
exchange. Joel went first, and he had FOPTV NT, so he got rid of FOPTV and kept NT. And Dave Gibson has CINNUUI, so he played Unsai. Unsai.
And Winter has just played off his W in several vowels here. Did not take a whole lot of time to think about that. And with a rack that clunky, there certainly weren't a lot of choices. Interesting decision here in the end.
Funnily enough, in the other game, David's play of Unside gave Joel Troutier. Not for much, 59 points, but it did give him a bingo. And the need not to just play off a couple of tiles.
I'm going to agree with you here, Aaron. I think Awato was definitely a better play. It didn't open up the board in a way that wasn't necessary. Scores more, gets rid of one more vowel. I definitely agree. Awato, Ox, At, We, and Add was the better play, absolutely.
Oh, what a beautiful play that was. Absolutely.
So Fiverr is a good option here. It helps him declutter with some very non-synergic, that's not a word, letters there altogether.
We'll say there's a hyphen in there.
Yes.
Okay.
So then with an open R, Winter would have Fetours, but that R is in not quite the right spot for him.
Oof. David Gibson in his game picked the QU together, decided not to play it to balance his rack, and picked quinines for 89 points to go ahead of Joel, who's picking nice racks but is not able to bingo. All right. Yeah, Fate Tours is correct. I think they can also spell it Fate Tours. Yeah, I saw that the other
Without the
day.
U,
Without
yeah.
the U, I saw that. He also has through a C, he would have factious if there was a C available. So he's decided to, oh my goodness, it takes an I. That was a really ballsy play on his part.
So Fiat and Tawa, yes, that was the general consensus in the chat, was Tawa was...
Especially since, as we saw, David did have an I.
Yeah.
And what does he have there? Smarchy.
He's got Chasm lined up, so it looks like he's considering Fivers and Chasms as a play here, which certainly scores a bit.
Oh, so close to Yashmak. Kazmi is, yeah, I like that better.
So Chasms and Fivers is an option. If not that, then...
Kazmi and Ventoses seems to be a really good, strong
Oh,
play.
underneath there.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Kazmi,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Kazmi is good in both dictionaries, but to compare it, Casimir and Casumiest, is only in Collins. There will be a quiz.
And he is pondering Chrisma with the Y instead of the I as a spelling.
Oh.
Don't do it.
So
don't do
yeah,
it,
I
don't
think some
do
people made the
it.
comment about questioning Winter's word knowledge, but the reality is, with the 5-point challenge, as we said, the onus is on the player, not on the challenger, whereas it's the opposite in OWL. Well, you know, he's in the enviable position of having to choose between 48 for Casmi and 44 for Marshy, and he could just play March at a L11 down to the triple for 35 points, saving his S. So he's got lots and lots of choices. Yeah. But he, as I said, he might consider playing Charisma, and he might be considering it not in deference to Winter's word knowledge, but simply because he thinks it might be good. He's gonna take the smart, safe points. It's a beautiful play.
And for Winter here, you wonder if he's going to do something like cube. I don't think he's going to go for buoys.
Over in the OWL game, as far as I've gotten into it, David Gibson is up 177 to 135. It's a bit more. I know if anybody's watching both, I know that I'm a little behind, but he does have SSXZ on his rack. So being ahead and having all these power tiles is certainly in his favor. And in fact, he played Mies, setting up an S hook for himself. Oh, Joel is the one who had that. I'm sorry about that. So that's allowed him to catch up and set himself up for the S.
So as I figured, Winter goes for a cube, gets rid of a few tiles, scores well, leaves a reasonably balanced rack there.
When you're playing a better player than you are, there's always that inner struggle. Do you keep the board open? Do you keep it closed? Often the score will determine what you need to do, but in this case, this board was quickly getting pretty ugly, and he doesn't have an S to hook on Fiver. Of course, you can play to the R, so that's fine. But it's, with Detox and Tawai, it's starting to get ugly. And Fiat now, the bingo lane has been blocked with Casmi, so I think it was a very smart turn to open the board up. And look, he picked up Ologies right there. And Ghoulies is also good in Collins. And I think he only has the one space for it. There's nothing, as far as I know, through the B. No, nothing through the B.
And the trick here for David is, of course, to try and get rid of that W, as it's a bingo killer pretty much all the time. So the issue here is going to be getting rid of that, some other letters, and finding a way to score and still keep balance while doing so.
You'll often see a few styles in that regard. You'll see people who are constantly trying to groom their rack, make it more bingo friendly, and then they'll have others who they don't care what they leave behind. They just go for the score every turn. And I think I found learned the hard way over time that going for the points is the correct thing to do, and stop trying to groom your rack, because unless you're I think some people are just luckier than others. In the game with Dave, where he saved a good rack with the QU, and yes, he picked a bingo right away, but my experience has been that I never pick the bingo, no matter, even though I do the right thing, I don't. So I just go for points now, and it's made me win a lot more games. I think Dave Wiegand is also somebody who tends to sometimes fish off two tiles, and he often picks bingos.
With the number of words additional in the Collins Dictionary compared to the North American one. There are certainly more options with the
For
various
sure.
letters you might draw, so there does seem to be a preference to not worrying as much about leave, within reason, but
Yeah.
certainly more words, more scoring options,
Last
less
time I
to worry about.
checked, the person with the highest score won.
Yeah,
So going for points seems to be a reasonable strategy.
winning by scoring more points is an excellent strategy.
So I'm going to put a question out to the chat people. Give me the answer. If David, if Winter were to play his rack down to fivers, let's say, should he play ologies or ghoulies? And tell me why.
Oh, I know it.
OWL does not have ghoulies. Quizzical. There we go. There's a nice... Well, we're not getting any answers. So the answer is probably ghoulies because ologies takes another O in front of it. And then guess what? That takes a Z or Z in front of it for zoologies.
Yeah, and Ghoulies does work in both books now. It was just added to the
Oh,
last
thank you.
update. I think, yeah, I'd probably play Ghoulies by default, but it would depend on the score as well. If I were behind and playing someone, say, like a David Gibson, you know, who's known to play a closed board, I might play Ologies instead, knowing that there would be a front hook. So I think the answer is it depends, but Ghoulies would be my default option.
It's a barn burner over on the OWL board. Joel Sherman, who set himself up with Mies, M-E-Z-E, down to the triple, did get down sexed right after it for 53. And he is now leading by 5 points, 226 to 221.
I'm looking at David Eldar's rack, and it's kind of a reverse winterization of an expression. So the W is making a V there. So in vitro.
In vitro. People don't know. As we said, Winter's a quirky guy, and you might know the reason why he's decided that V's should now be only spelled with W's. He makes these proclamations, and so I bet the in vitro is on purpose on David Elder.
I think he's just trolling, yeah.
Okay.
So Inwit goes down here. Yeah.
All right. If he had another T, he could have played Nitwit.
So he does go for the points and opts for Ologies, which works for Eldar, because he's got the O. If he can draw an S, he would have a large scoring Jokers.
But there's that risk and reward again. By playing down that row, he's going to open up the triple row to Winter.
At the very least, David does have Joker with that O in Ologies, the first one, for a fair number of points.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that go down. There are no bingos with that rack. And he can't go across on row 9 over the O to make jets.
There goes Joker.
Yeah, Joker seems the obvious play. And now that Oologies is not really playable because nothing goes in front of J, nothing goes in front of K.
Yeah. Unless he decides, or someone decides to make a setup later by putting an O there for Eulogies and trying to get Zoologies, or Nulogies actually works as well.
Wow, great word. Right now he can play biologies. He shouldn't, but he could. Or geologies.
It's been pointed out as well that Isologue and he, through the U and cube, was
that's probably
a play that scores a bit better, so...
That would have been a better play, probably. 80 points. What did he get?
Has
72, yeah. Isologue was a better play.
Let's just see.
Hordine.
Yeah.
And... Hordine plays through P for Nephroid, a D for Dihedron. None of this is available on the board. L for Inholder, which Joker just blocked. History. So we're waiting on Winter. That's true. Inholder was... David Eldar's one with Inholder. So it's Winter's turn with his bougie, a candle rack. Sometimes you see that N up on the board and you have IG on your rack and you start getting really tempted not to screw that up. That's not...
So he's playing goalie here.
Very
it's going to
pretty.
score a fair bit.
That's very pretty. He also had Voyage.
And
Through the Y.
Hordine will go down from David Eldar now, thanks to that play. So while it scores a fair bit for Winter, David's going to be happy to see that as he gets to make his play shortly.
Yeah, Hordine goes right down now. Quackle had also suggested Voyage through the Y in Casme, but making a bit of a dangerous E placement. That didn't take long.
Yeah, he knows that's his lone option there, so he's going to take a lead while Winter has got Boo on his rack, plus whatever else. And
I thought he had Ub.
I was thinking more the French route of Bu.
Bu.
Perhaps he'll need to Bu after this game.
Past tense of drink. Oh, we got a great play, the word anyway, I don't know if it was the right play, over on the OWL board. Now, it was played by Joel Sherman, and I'll preface it by saying that I was the first person that or maybe only, that he ever played QWERTYs against. When QWERTY was allowed, QWERTYS, he played that against me, and I remember him saying something along the lines of, well, I can cross that one off the bucket list. Well, he has just played Kayak, QAJA, obviously blank. Not for a ton of points, but maybe just to say he played it. I don't know.
Well, it's something to take home as a memory, for sure. Zupa is a nice play. He scores a lot.
Zupa Inglese.
Yes.
That is a lot of points.
So
63.
At first glance, I am not seeing any playable 8s.
Yeah, those are very frustrating racks when you have all the one-pointers.
So Ritz, at the very least, is going to score him some.
Yeah, poor guy is going to have to settle for that. Retitle, eh?
Yeah.
Retitle. Any place for that? No. Why am I looking there? Oh, he played chose Trez. Yeah, get rid of the double E, especially with 3 E's to come, but only 1 I. That might be a better play.
Oh, yeah.
Once we're doing French words.
Yeah.
Although it's with TRES, I don't think it means the same thing.
Yeah, Trez works as well, for sure, so... Yeah, this is definitely the better option here.
Now, if Zupa wasn't available to Winter, for sure he would have probably, if he had the O, he would have played O-ologies to set himself up for an almost unblockable word.
It's still available there. Winter has a bad leave if he were to play eulogies, but he could technically do that.
No, but he's already
himself.
played the Z, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But he has the N, you said.
He has the N, yeah, so Winter could do it, but his leave would be bad, so probably not worth it this turn, but he might consider keeping the O-N combo.
Mind you, there are 2 more N's to be played, so...
Yeah, so Trez goes down, or Tre, I don't know which is the right one.
Well, Tre is TRES.
Yeah.
So I think it probably means something else. So BCGP, these are not synchronous tiles. So he's going to be looking to get rid of 2 of those. He's only down by 7? No, he's down by more. We haven't added up the score yet. David Eldar has 333 to Winter's 287. And I see that Joel's cutesy play of Kayak gave David Gibson the possibility of Avifane, but we'll see what he plays.
And then, Quinn, just to clarify, when we're talking about almost unblockable, we're saying playing eulogies for the purpose of setting up eulogies. So with the J and the K being in the positions that they are, it's almost unblockable unless you find just the right play, extending Ja or extending KI to something. But even that still somewhat opens up the triple line. So almost unblockable, so that's what we mean by that.
He's picked up the Q with an I. 2 U still unseen. He could play quit to what should have been the GUE and isolog so that's still available to him.
And ideally we wouldn't keep the 2 L's together for long, but in this case it might be warranted given how much he would score.
31 points. At the very least, he's got QI next to Inuit as well.
Winter's going for the bong.
So unfortunately, in getting rid of 2 of the heavier tiles, you got rid of the synergistic NG. Mind you, there's only 1 I left. CLP, I don't know. So are we happy with quit or QI? Or do we even have to play it with 2 U's unseen? I'd get rid of it.
He's going for quit, it looks like here, which I personally prefer.
I see nothing wrong with it.
It also just takes out, I mean, the B is not considered a major bingo lane, but all the same, it still takes 1 out.
All right, so close for... I wonder if he played Bop. He would have saved NG, but he would have had 1 less tile in his racks. We can't really figure out what he would have had. But that E, I don't know. Blocking that bingo lane with that E, I don't know. Not my fave.
So depending on how lucky he feels, there are now, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, is that 3 ends on the board or 4? 1, 2, 4 on the board. So Winter has one of the last 2 ends. If he were to set himself up with eulogy, so depending on the situation, he could consider it, and he doesn't know this, but David would have a very difficult time blocking that, except Winter doesn't have a good enough rack here quite yet to warrant going for that setup, which I would imagine he's probably seen it.
In Winter's mind, there are 19 unseen tiles, of which 10 are, I believe, 3, 7, 8, 9. 10 are vowels and 9 are consonants.
And David has Telesale that's going to be coming down here very shortly.
Oh my goodness, I saw that earlier this week too. Second time this week this has been played at least. It's a Collins only word.
It's a nice play.
And that will, I'm quite sure, seal the deal.
And that was also in the chat, so nice work. Y'all are sharp this morning, or afternoon now here.
And in the other game, Joel has just set up David Gibson, who has ING with PEE blank. He had set up Aper 1 away from the triple, and he's going to give him Gaper and whatever bingo that seeping, weeping, whatever keeping. I think weeping would have been a bit of a...
Appropriate. So we're over to Winter. He's got a deuce plus an O on his rack.
And now I think we're just playing out here in this game. Even though there's a lot of tiles left, I don't think that... right now, David's up 395 to 308, but Joel's rack is AIIOOST with 4 O's unseen, 3 I's unseen. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
So there's really only one major lane of note open, that I in Inuit. Plus, if you were super creative and had the right letters and there's a valid word, a 9 through the EN or GE, but...
I think you still get an 8 through the E, but it's worth nothing. 60 points. Like, yeah. Useless.
David Eller has got unmerry on his rack.
Numerary through that E.
Numerary,
which now
yeah.
does not fit. Will you unmarry me? I love it. I love it. So the 2 guys who wanted me today, I'm going to have to unmarry one of you.
And in this game, it's appropriate because unmarry is a Collins only 7.
Wow. And numerary is the only 8. Grammari. So whose turn is it now?
It's a Winter's turn right
It's
now.
Winter's turn. He has no bingo possibility whatsoever. So the question is, he's not, I mean, yeah, he's 120, but yeah, all right. So I'm thinking he's not that far behind, but he is. And, you know, what are you going to do on this board? You can't really create more openings. You already have one on top, you have one on the bottom. Now it's just a matter of balancing your rack. Maybe getting rid of DU or play undo. Undo is probably not a bad play.
And we have a nice suggestion from the chat. Quinn has suggested E deuce from the E in Trez, making a couple of nice overlaps.
Or reduced even, 2 Ds.
Yeah.
I like undo a bit better, saving a really nice rack. Also, you want to play fewer tiles. He can also play agued, A-G-U-E-D, to the G, through the G on row 15. Oh, John Chu has also put up the kayak play. Maybe it's just like, I know I'm not going to win, so let me do something that will, you know, draw attention to a great play instead. I'll have to ask him why he played that. It would have been really nice if he'd played it at the Canadian Nationals. It would have been a nice tip of the hat to our Inuit population.
So Winter has gone for coned. The bag's now officially empty, and there's one spot, at least, for Winter to go with adieu. just to confirm from the chat, lunch break will be commencing as of the end of this round. We should be back for 3 o'clock to resume the next 3 games that are happening.
Yeah,
So
3:05, something like that.
yeah. So it'll be 7 total games that we've broadcasted once those last ones are done. Then there are just 3 tomorrow, again starting at 9 a.m. And all 3 will be played in the morning.
Tomorrow's going to be so great. The only thing is this year we don't have a finals like we often have. When you have a finals, it's tabula rasa, right? You just, whoever finishes 1 and 2 gets to play each other, but then their wins and cum and all that, it goes by the wayside and they start from scratch. Whereas this year we're just going straight through the 31 games. So if somebody pulls ahead and is uncatchable, then we already have had a champ decided. But and that's one of the reasons why it's not that we're pulling against anybody, but we would certainly love to have a situation tomorrow where it's not a foregone conclusion. So now we're just ending up the game here, and it looks like in the David Gibson game as well, Joel decided with that heavy vowel rack to pass and just keep his S. And I imagine that David's going to spend the rest of his time on this board just blocking things up, which is exactly what he's doing. And with 5 tiles left on Joel's rack, David Gibson is up 403 to 351. So it's just a matter of bragging rights for the prettiest endgame.
And Rumen was nice because it didn't just block a Jew, it gave him a nice play of Ray and U to score well to maximize his spread at the end. So nice move, Eldar.
Oh, he set himself up there? Very nice. That's a very fun thing to do, too, for people who go online and see some of the annotated games and just go to the end and just take the last rack, know what's on your rack, know what's on your opponent's rack, and try to set yourself up for the best possible 1-2 punch out. It's a very good exercise. Because sometimes, studying all those studying, it's kind of exhausting. So this is a different way of studying while you're still doing Scrabble, but you're not just memorizing words. So let me see if I can get you an idea of what's going on in the tournament overall. I'll give you some standings so far as we have up to round 24. Going into this game, this was 25, yeah? 22, 23, yeah. David Gibson was in first place by 2 games. Not only was he up by 2 games with a 20-4 win-loss spread, but he also has a cum of 2,125. And his number 2, Ian Weinstein, was at 918. So David is really setting himself up well. So even if he loses a few games and other people catch up, he's got such a huge spread. It's going to be very, very difficult to catch him. In third place going into this game, there was no one at 19. So David was at 20. Ian was at 18. Joel Sherman was at 17. Joel's about to lose. So David's about to go to 21, and Joel Sherman will stay at 17. And Matthew Tunnicliffe, our repeating champion, was at 16 and 8 plus 816. And Ori, I know people wanted to hear about Ori. He was in 5th place, also at 16-8, but down by 316 points on Joel. And
we'll just quickly get the call-in standings for you here before we sign off. Let's just find them there.
All right. Going into this game, David Eldar had a 4-game lead over his next opponent, which was Winter. He was at 24 and 4 plus 1552. So very odd that the Collins top player, who has 2 more wins, has a lower spread than David Gibson, because the Collins has so many more words that you can play. The spread is often higher. Winter was at 16 and 8 plus 608. Evans Clinchy, a wonderful player from the States,